You're ready. We have 34.
All right, thank you. So I'm showing the 8:02 on all of my digital clocks here, and we'll call this meeting to order. This is the November 6th regular meeting of the O'Hare Noise Compatibility Commission. And I'll ask us to please recite the Pledge of Allegiance at our seat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States,
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic
which stands
one
one nation under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and justice
liberty
for all.
for all.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'll ask everyone to keep your mics muted unless you are speaking. We'll go on to the membership roll call, Jeanette.
Village of Addison.
Here.
Arlington Heights.
Here.
Bartlett.
Here.
Bensonville.
Here.
Bloomingdale.
Here.
City of Chicago.
Here.
City of Chicago 36th Ward.
Here.
38th Ward.
Here.
39.
Here.
41.
Here.
45. Cook County. Des Plaines.
Here.
Downers Grove. DuPage County.
Here.
Elmhurst.
Present.
Elmwood Park.
Here.
Franklin Park.
Here.
Glenview.
Here.
Hanover Park.
Here.
Harwood Heights.
Here.
Itasca.
Here.
Lincolnwood.
Here.
Maywood. Melrose Park.
Here.
Mount Prospect.
Here.
Niles. Norwich.
Here.
North Lake.
Here.
Palatine.
Here.
Park Ridge.
Here.
River Forest.
Present.
River Grove.
Here.
Rolling Meadows.
Here.
Rosemont.
Here.
Schaumburg.
Here.
Schiller Park.
Here.
South Barrington.
Here.
St. Charles.
Here.
Stone Park. Wayne. Wooddale.
Here.
School District 2. 7.
Here.
48.
Present.
59. 63. 64. 80. 81. 85 and a half. 86.
Here.
87.
Here.
88. 89.
Here.
100. 205.
Here.
207. 214.
Here.
234.
Here.
299. And 401. We have a quorum, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'll remind you, if you're using your computer speakers and your phone for audio, please turn one set of speakers off so we don't get an echo. And also please keep yourself muted unless you are wishing to speak. In accordance with the Special Open Meetings Act rules with respect to the COVID mitigations, Jeanette is at our general offices over at CDA. And we will be taking a roll call vote on anything that requires a vote. So thank you again for joining us. And we'll move on to approval of the October 2nd ONCC meeting minutes. I'll need a motion. Please identify yourself and a second, and then we'll vote.
I'll move so Brian, River Grove.
And the second?
Schiller Park, second.
Thank you. Okay, are there any additions or corrections? And I'll remind folks, we have the chat feature. Please use that if you wish to speak, and I will constantly monitor it as well, Jeanette, I'm sure. Okay, seeing no additions or corrections, Jeanette, please call the vote.
Village of Addison.
Yes.
Arlington Heights.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Bensonville.
Yes.
Bloomingdale.
Yes.
City of Chicago.
Yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward.
Yes.
38,
Yes.
39,
Yes.
41,
Yes.
Cook County. Des Plaines,
Yes.
DuPage County,
Yes.
Downers Grove, Elmhurst,
Aye.
Elmwood Park,
Yes.
Franklin Park, Glenview,
Yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Itasca, Lincolnwood,
Yes.
Melrose Park,
Yes.
Mount Prospect,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Northlake,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Forest,
Aye.
River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Rosemont,
Yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes.
South Barrington,
Yes.
St. Charles,
Yes.
Wooddale,
Yes.
School District 7,
Yes.
48,
Aye.
86, 87,
Yes.
89,
Yes.
205,
Yes.
214,
Yes.
and 234.
Yes.
Thank you.
86, yes.
Cook County, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Minutes are approved, and we'll go on to our guest speaker this morning. Very pleased to introduce you to Julian Federley, who is the Director of State and Local Government Affairs for United Airlines. And he's oversees public policy, legislative, government, and corporate issues in the Midwest and South on behalf of Chicago's hometown airline, and I might add Mount Prospect's hometown airline. Before joining United, Julian worked in both government and politics, serving as Deputy Chief of Staff for Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Chief Policy and Programs Officer for Illinois Treasurer Michael Frerichs. Julian also previously worked for Governor Pat Quinn's administration, the Chicago Federation of Labor, and several local, statewide, and national level political campaigns. He's worked on a wide range of public policy issues, including public finance, education reform, transforming public workforce development programs, and government reform and accountability initiatives. It sounds like some or all of us have probably intersected with your sphere of influence at some point in your career, and I'm happy you're here this morning. So welcome, Julian. And what's going on at United Airlines?
Thank you, Mayor, for that kind introduction. Before I begin, I just want to acknowledge just the uncertain times that we're all living in. This pandemic has impacted all of us in unique ways, whether it's your family, your friends, the governments that you represent. It's a tough time, and my thoughts are with you. I think that the way that we're going to get through all of this is together. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share United's story. It's great to see so many familiar faces as well. And without further ado, I'll jump right into it. Jeanette, I believe you gave me access to share my screen. I'm going to try to do that right now. If you could give me a thumbs up if you see my screen, that'd be great. Awesome. So I don't think it's any surprise to any of you that the airline industry has been acutely impacted by the COVID crisis. The slide that I have up now represents industry-wide impact on different types of passenger volume. So the greenish and red lines down at the bottom represent international travel across the Atlantic and Pacific. You can see that since late March, early April, year over year, international travel has effectively been flat. We've seen some growth in domestic and North American travel, but we're still, overall down about 60% year over year domestically, and about 75% 75% internationally. While demand is certainly suppressed across the industry, there are some notable market-to-market differences in how demand has returned. And O'Hare in Chicago has lagged the broader domestic market and other mid-continental hubs. This slide kind of shows where O'Hare specifically stands compared to the rest of the domestic market. And again, this is not just United data. This is data from several carriers. When you look specifically at mid-continental hubs, we dig a little bit deeper, you can see where Chicago stands. I'm sure that you all are looking at this slide and asking questions. Well, how come, the busiest airport city, a city where we have basically 3 airlines hubbed, why are we trailing? It's a good question. I think that one of the primary reasons is, the primacy of business travel for a city like Chicago. Business travel is down about 80% or 85% year over year. And, we're seeing this in other markets. I don't have the New York market listed here, but New York, which is also dominated by business travel, is also lagging other domestic hubs as well. So, this suppressed demand is largely driven by the lack of business travel. You can see with this slide, the lack of demand on business travel has been pretty consistent since the spring, while we've seen some upticks in demand for what we'll call leisure travel or non-corporate, non-business travel. So here's a representation that shows kind of where things stand market to market, and just an idea of where we're seeing some resurgence in demand. It shouldn't come as a surprise that some leisure destinations really saw some increases in demand over the course of the summer. Your Las Vegases, your Denvers, your Phoenixes, they really saw upticks, while more business-centric destinations, Chicago, New York City Metro, Minneapolis, San Francisco, and Boston have remained suppressed. This suppressed demand has had a huge impact on airlines across the board, not just United. This slide shows across the industry what our projections are for cash burn through the winter. The way to think about this slide is, all of you, whether in your personal lives or in representing your governments, understand that you only have as much money as there is money coming in. For airlines, tickets, cargo sales, those types of things drive the money that's coming in. The money that's going out is cash refunds, payroll, and various other types of operating expenses. Right now, you can see that the industry as a whole is burning more money than it's taking in. These numbers, I hate to say this, but this is actually great news. Earlier this spring, United's daily cash burn was over $40 million a day. So you can imagine how big of a crisis we were in the spring and early summer. We're confident that we've gotten that under control. We've taken some aggressive cost-cutting measures at United and across the industry. Everything from reducing or adjusting capital expenditures, stopping projects on things that we've deemed as non-critical to our operations. Our CEO and president aren't accepting a salary. There have been across the board job cuts. And as I'm sure you all have seen in recent weeks, we've also implemented voluntary furloughs, voluntary early retirements, as well as involuntary furloughs. So the story here is that with demand so low, it is having a really stark impact on our revenues. This is why the payroll support or CARES Act was so critical to the airline industry. The $3.5 billion grant that United Airlines received. There's a lot of misinformation out there about the grant. This was only for payroll. This was to keep the tens and thousands of staff who work at United on the line. It also gave us the opportunity to work with our employee groups and our business units to think creatively about how we could minimize the pain. In July, we were anticipating that we would have to lay off or involuntary furlough in the neighborhood of 35,000 people. We were able to get that number down to around 15,000 through the hard work and collaboration and partnership with our employee groups and bargaining units. The tough part about these cuts is that we think that there's going to be a snapback. We don't know when that's going to happen, but we want to be poised to be able to hop onto the increase in demand when that happens. But kind of the last kind of piece that I want to hit on when it comes to the revenues is just, as we look ahead, we know that operating revenues are going to continue to be suppressed. The historical models that we've seen show that when there are big hits to the airline industry, it takes several years to recover. So if you look at the left-hand side of this chart, that represents the impact of 9/11. It took about 3 years for passenger volume to return to pre-9/11 levels after 9/11. In the middle tranche there, you have the 2008 financial crisis. It took about 7 years for passenger volume to return after the financial crisis. As far as financial impact, the pandemic has had a bigger impact on the airline industry than either the financial crisis or 9/11. And we anticipate a pretty long road to recovery. Anyone who prognosticates about how long it's going to take, I would take it with a grain of salt. We have tried our darndest to anticipate what a recovery could look like. This chart that I'm showing here is kind of a best guess for how long we think it'll take, from the most optimistic to the most pessimistic estimates. There are a lot of questions though about air travel. The nature of work has changed. We're a lot more comfortable getting on video conferences than before. But we are confident that as soon as people start, losing clients to others who've initiated face-to-face meetings, once people are comfortable and want to go see loved ones again, we're going to see that demand start to come back. we're seeing a tremendous amount of pent up demand right now. People want to travel, but they're just not quite comfortable doing it yet. We really think that the main catalyst to spurring travel again will be a vaccine or therapeutics. Once we see widespread availability of a vaccine, we'll start to see the economy recover a little bit, and that's really what we think will be the impetus for air travel to start to return. Well, I've talked about the kind of somber impacts of the virus. I'd like to talk about some of the more interesting things that have come out of the virus, and that is, we have had to completely rethink the way that we think about health safety in the customer experience. From the pre-flight check-in process, where we've really, United has led the industry in providing information to travelers, giving information about how full flights are, giving information about other flight options if folks aren't comfortable flying, to aircraft cleaning and disinfecting. These are all things that we didn't necessarily have to think about prior to the crisis, but we have partnered with some key public and private sector partners. On the private side, we're working very closely with A4A, the Airline Industry Trade Association. United is working with Clorox and the Cleveland Clinic. And on the government side, we are in constant contact with CDC, FAA, and DOT on the evolving nature of cleanliness and health safety standards on our aircraft, in our hold rooms, and across terminals. I just wanted to highlight a couple of the things that United specifically is doing. From emphasizing cleanliness on our aircrafts and clubs, requiring face masks and an attestation that a ready to fly checklist that asks some health safety questions, to launching a pilot from San Francisco to Hawaii, where we're providing COVID tests to our passengers so that they can have clear idea and be in compliance with Hawaii's travel orders. We've really had to be nimble and creative when it comes to enhancing health safety throughout the flying experience. Obviously there's new technology like electrostatic sprayers. But there's some technologies that were already in place that we are making more widespread. We use HEPA filters in our aircraft to filter air. I'm going to get into that in a little more detail shortly here, but I just want to underscore how seriously United and the industry is taking cleanliness in the flying experience, and just outline the myriad of avenues that we're pursuing to make sure that the experience is as safe as possible. Here are a couple things that I also want to highlight, mainly just because I think they're really cool. We have robots now that clean aircraft using antimicrobial technology. We use these and we clean aircraft between every flight. I think that all of these things in totality provide a very safe experience. You don't have to take my word for it, though. There have been studies conducted that show that flying is safe. I just want to play this very quick video here. Hopefully, you all will be able to hear the sound. If not, Mayor, if you could give me a wave and I'll just move on. But the bottom line is that the HEPA filter technology that we have in our aircraft, the way that air circulates, it removes close to 100% of particles that are in the air. So it's really a safe indoor environment. I don't know if you guys are getting sound here, so I'll just move on then. The study that I referenced that looks at the safety of in-flight environment was conducted by the Department of Defense. Bottom line is it showed that flying is very, very safe. Being in the cabin of an aircraft is very, very safe. It's due to the HEPA filters. It's due to the cleaning procedures that we've implemented, and it's due to the new in-flight onboard procedures that we've outlined as well. This crisis is obviously dynamic. We're continuing to work with Airlines for America, state and local authorities on their restrictions and recommendations. We also work very closely with the Cleveland Clinic to develop policies and procedures that, again, we think will make the flying experience as safe as possible. I've spent a lot of time kind of getting into what we're doing on the passenger side, but I also want to take a moment here just to highlight, when it comes to our employees, we're not messing around either. We're obviously partnering with the CDC and the World Health Organization, implementing their policies and procedures to make sure that our employees and staff, not only on aircraft, but working at airports, at our hubs and line stations, are as safe as possible. As essential workers, they have continued to report to work throughout this crisis. And they're really on the front lines of not only helping keeping the airline industry afloat, but they're on the front lines continuing to work as essential workers. So in summary here, I just want to say, this crisis has really tested United Airlines and the airline industry as a whole. I'm really proud of the steps that we've taken to confront the crisis, how nimble we've been to implement new technologies, new policies, new procedures to keep flying and our operations as safe as possible for both passengers and our employees. Our CEO, Scott Kirby, said about a week ago, this isn't quite the beginning of the end, but we think that we are at the end of the beginning of the crisis. So we do see some glimmers of hope. This holiday travel season is certainly going to be difficult given some of the upticks that we're seeing in case positivity here in the Midwest and across the country. But we're confident that the steps we've taken internally and the partnerships that we've forged externally are going to make not only United, but the airline industry and our presence at O'Hare even stronger than before. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Thank you, Julian. That was really informative and in many ways very reassuring. I know that United and all of your airline competitors are taking this very seriously, and there are so many multi-dimensional impacts that are affecting air travel. I think of my own personal story. My niece is supposed to be getting married in Phoenix in April. And you wonder, is it safe to fly? Is it safe to gather? Is it, if I get to Phoenix, will I be able to get back without renting a car and driving back? And that's just a tiny little non-critical decision, but I know that people are making all kinds of critical decisions in their lives every day. So I really appreciate that very, very thorough explanation of what's going on with the airline industry generally at O'Hare and specifically what you're doing. If anyone has a comment or a question, please put it into chat. I cannot see, we have 77 participants. I can't see all your smiling faces. So we'll rely on the chat feature. And we have recorded the meeting, so this information will be available for replay. And Julian, if possible, if you could share your slides with Jeanette, we can make sure the slides get out to our membership. Okay, and
You bet.
Julian is nodding his head yes. I think this was very, very helpful. It's been a while since we've seen United at our meetings, and glad to welcome you here. Look forward to your continued interface with us here at the O'Hare Noise Commission.
Likewise, thanks again for having me.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on then, and that takes us to the report of the City of Chicago Department of Aviation. We'll have the usual ANMS report and an update on what's going on with the current interim fly quiet program, an update on the IGA renewal, and then we'll hear a little more about the commissioning of runway 9C 27C. So who's taking this over from for CDA? Is that Aaron?
Good morning, Mayor. Yes, we're going to
Good
start
morning.
with Ryan. He'll do the first two items. I'll talk a little bit about the IGA, and then I think the commissioner wants to talk about yesterday's milestone. So Ryan, why don't you get us started?
Good morning, everyone. We'll be going over the September Airport Noise Management System report. Hopefully everyone can see that on their screens. Pages 1 through 3, we'll go through some of the highlights for the month of September 2020. On page 1, we've got our aircraft operations summary updated through September of 2020. This data is based on the FAA's air traffic activity data system. As you can see, for September 2020, we had 43,760 operations, which is about 44% below of where we were last year at O'Hare in 2019. That also is a bit below of where we were in August, about 5% reduction compared to August of 2020. So we did see some gains through the summer, as Julian pointed out in his presentation, mainly driven by those leisurely passengers. But we did see a little bit of a drop off in September to 43,000 operations. Bringing our total year to date so far to 408,467. That's about 30% below where we were at the same time last year in 2019. And again, if you're interested in keeping track of where we're at as far as the impacts of the pandemic on operations at O'Hare, both at O'Hare and Midway, Chairman Summers has asked that we keep that as a standing agenda item on the tech committee agenda. And every technical committee meeting will be kind of going over the operation levels, both at O'Hare and Midway, as well as passenger levels, just to give everyone an idea of where things are at as far as demand levels due to this pandemic. So I encourage everyone that's interested to join us at the technical committee meeting. I believe the next one is on the 17th. Page 2, we've got our wind summary in the upper right corner. Again, wind is the major factor influencing which runways we're using and how we're using them. The diagram in the upper right shows incidences of wind occurrences throughout the month. And as you can see on the diagram, we had a majority of wind occurring from the southwest and southwest, which resulted in the airport operating in predominantly west flow. You'll see in that blue red arrow in the middle, that represents kind of what direction or flow the airport is operating in for the month. Due to winds, primarily west flow, 62%. So that's aircraft departing to the west and arriving from the east. And as a result, you'll see in the highlights towards the lower middle of the page, our most used departure runway was 28 right at 47%. And our most used arrival runway was 28 center at 30%. Page 3, the bottom of page 3, we have our complaints summary. Total complaints for the month of 2020 was 22,284. That's a bit of an increase, about 9% over August of 2020. Even though we did see a dip in operations between September and August, we did see a bit of a bump in noise complaints for September. This brings our total to 196,769 total complaints for 2020. We'll go into more detail on the location of those complaints later in this report. Page 4 is our aircraft fleet mix report for O'Hare for September 2020. The fleet mix report shows the medley of aircraft that we have operating at O'Hare, and we break those out into 3 major categories. We have our regional aircraft, which are the smaller aircraft types. We have our narrow body aircraft and our wide body aircraft. The vast majority for September of 2020 was regional aircraft. You can see over 57% of the operations were regional aircraft. Narrow body aircraft represented 28.9%, and wide body only 12.7% of the total fleet operating at the airport in September. The average operations per day were only 1,341. As most of you probably remember, that number is usually more towards 2,300 to 2,500 operations a day. So the average is still well below where we were at last year. And only 6% of the operations are occurring during the overnight hours between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Page 5 is our runway use report for daytime. Daytime, we delineate 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. We show the average daily departures and arrivals for September as compared to August. We show the utilization. You can see the bar charts in the middle showing the utilization and comparing the difference between September and August. As you'll see, there's not much difference. We had a little bit of slight change in utilizations, but pretty much the same runways predominantly being used between the 2 months. And at the bottom of the page, you'll see our utilization arrows. Again, we are predominantly in west flow, so you'll see that 28 right departures at 47% was our most predominant used departure runway. And east flow was split 9 right departures 18% and 10 left 20%. On the arrival side, we have our simultaneous triple arrivals on 27 right, 27 left, and 28 center. And in east flow, we were primarily arriving on 9 right and 10 center. Excuse me, I'll take a drink. Page 6 is our nighttime runway use report. Nighttime is between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. We see a bit more of dispersion of runway use. This was driven by the restarting of our interim flight quiet program, which started on September 13th, so about midway through the month. So we see some utilization of some runways that we wouldn't typically see. Specifically, our crosswind runways 4 left, as well as some of the 10 center, 28 center, or 9 right, 27 left. At the bottom of the page, you'll see west flow departures, 28 right, 33%, 28 center, 20%, and 22 left, 6%. In east flow, 9 right, 8%, 10 left, 15%, 10 center, 14%. We also had 2% departing on 4 left. And then on arrivals, you'll see we also had arrivals on 22 right at 5%, mainly driven by our rotation program. 27 left, 12%, 28 center, 40%, 42%, I'm sorry, in West Flow. In East Flow, 5% on 9 right, 23% on 10 center. Pages 7 and 8 are the permanent noise monitor report, which shows the locations of the 36 permanent noise monitors currently around the airport, as well as the aircraft DNL values for the current month, as well as the previous 12 months and comparing to the same period last year. Page 8 is our first 17 of noise monitors. As you can see, again, mainly driven by the very low demand at the airport on low operations. We see all of our monitors showing at or well below what they were in this period last year. So all our monitors pretty much showing green, which is a decibel or more decrease in noise values than we saw last year. I'd also like to point out that we've been hard at work this year on replacing all of our monitors with new equipment, and we are very close to being done. I think we only have 3 more to go, but all of our current permanent monitors at O'Hare have been replaced, except for 3 with brand new equipment. And again, the technical committee is the place to go for information on our noise monitors and the equipment that we're putting in there. We're also going to be putting in very close to breaking ground on new permanent monitors in Chicago as well as Niles. And again, we'll have more information at the upcoming technical committee on our new monitors. Page 9 again is the remaining noise monitors. Again, as I mentioned, almost all of them green, which means a decrease of a decibel or more compared to this September of last year. Page 10 is our noise complaint report for September. The noise complaint report shows the number of verifiable households that have filed noise complaints through the various methods that we offer. We're showing in red highlighted the number of households that made complaints in September of 2020, as well as the previous 2 months. As you can see, the total on the right side of the page, we had 313 total verifiable households making complaints in September. That's slightly up than what we saw in the previous couple of months, with a total of 22,284 complaints for the month. The increases were mainly in Niles and Chicago. And that may have been as a result of the resumption of IFQ and getting some new operation traffic on our crosswind runways that we didn't see over the summer. And the lower right, you'll see our breakouts of method of complaint website. The vast majority of complaints are made through the website. We also have a very nice app that people can use both within the city and outside the city to file noise complaints, as well as the telephone still available for those who wish to make a phone call. Method of complaint, or I'm sorry, nature of complaint, aircraft noise by far the most highest nature of complaint. And the time of complaint, daytime 86% versus nighttime 13%. As I mentioned in the fleet mix report, operations have been a little bit lower at night due to the decreased demand levels, and so we've seen that reflected in the noise complaints as well. And then finally on page 11, we show the geographic location of all the verifiable noise complaints that were filed in the month of September. As you can see, predominantly in line with our east-west flow of traffic at O'Hare, quite a bit on the easterly side of the airport towards the lake, which is in line with The operations for the month of September were primarily in Westflow, which resulted in that's majority of arrival traffic coming from the lake towards the airport. And those noise complaints are most likely representative of that. And you'll also see some complaints kind of line up with our crosswind runways. And that corresponds to, of course, the resumption of IFQ, which started on September 13th and began utilizing those crosswind runways more during the overnight hours. And that completes the report for September 2020.
Ryan, we had a question in chat about the complaint numbers. If we could see a comparison with those numbers from before the COVID pandemic. So I think the appropriate comparison would be the 2019 monthly versus the 2020 monthly. And certainly we have the noise data there, but the complaint numbers, do we have that comparison?
Well, we have the comparison of totals. You'll see here on page 3, we have 2019 total complaints versus 2020. And the complaint levels are down a relative percentage comparatively to the operation levels. So we have seen a decrease in total number of complaints filed that do kind of correspond to the number of similar decrease in operations.
So I think another way of looking at this for the questioner and for all of us is to pull up the ANMS report from last year. They're all available on the ONCC website, and that will give you the more disaggregated information if you're interested in your specific community. We do know that the numbers have dropped off significantly due to the pandemic, but you can get a more drilled down comparison just by looking at last year's report. Okay, and I got to thank you for that. And I think that was the only question that I'm seeing. So great, thanks, Ryan. We can move on. Okay,
next item on the agenda is, as we've been talking about, the interim flight quiet runway rotation program. Again, we've resumed the program beginning September 13th. We are currently in, I believe, week 36, which is the week of November 1st, a crosswind runway week. We are reporting utilization. We have utilization reports, real detailed reports on the activity levels for each week and adherence to the scheduled runways that are available on the CDA's website every week. We try to post those by the end of business on the Friday. So right now we're reporting on week 35. We should have that report up on the website by the end of the day. And we also go into detail on the weekly reports in our monthly Flight Quiet Committee meetings. So if you're interested to see how the rotation is going, I encourage you to participate in those Flight Quiet Committee meetings. The program is scheduled to run through the end of January, at which point the program will have to end as we plan to close runway 9 right, 27 left to accommodate the extension construction. And that is one of our primary runways utilized in the rotation. So that'll bring the program to an end. However, the Flight Quiet Committee is actively working on a program to be in place once OMP is complete. And there's a lot of really good work going on in that committee, and we're close to forming up a plan. Hopefully we'll have one soon to present to the full commission. Are there any questions
on
about
IFQ? Okay, let's move on.
Mayor, just a quick update for everyone on the intergovernmental agreement. I'm happy to tell you we are done with that. I want to say a big thank you to the governance committee. The input that they had and some additional feedback from the executive committee was extremely helpful. What's going to happen now, we're going to get that introduced into the Chicago City Council as an ordinance request. That should be fairly smooth. Please look for additional correspondence from us, particularly from Jeanette, in about a month. We would like to get that to you mid-December by the time we get through the City of Chicago process. The IGA is written this time to give everyone all the way through the month of January to get it counter executed. So I don't want anyone to worry that you need to have this on your city council or village board or school board agenda for the month of December. We will get the month of January to get that done. When we do send those to you, we will send everyone 3 originals. The city would like to keep 2 of the originals, return 1 to you. We are happy to do multiple originals, more than 3 if you would like. If that is the case, if you'd like more than 1 original for your village or school records, please let Jeanette know and we'll just send you a 4th or 5th upon request. So like I said, all that's going well. We're on track and we'll keep everyone posted. Mayor, are there any questions?
I have no questions. I'm not seeing anyone indicating a need for a question. I really appreciate the hard work. We know that the governance team, as well as the team working on this, have been reporting back to us and have been working very diligently. And we appreciate it. I think our own individual municipal interests will be well represented and fairly represented. We are in many ways broadening our ability to participate with the way we're treating members versus delegates and alternates. And if you're a member, you've got every opportunity to participate well. So thanks for that. Okay, how about the new runway commissioning?
All right, Commissioner, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, someone on mute?
We may have lost her, so I will just go ahead and see if she can rejoin us. So we want to let everybody know we had a great day yesterday. It was beautiful weather. We did not have a big opening. We're happy to in the field per se for the opening of runway 9 Center, 27 Center. That's the last of the new build runways as part of the O'Hare modernization program. As many of you know, that new runway is 11,245 feet long, 200 feet wide, and it's now the O'Hare's second longest runway. We're very excited that is going to be able to accommodate the largest of the aircraft, specifically the Airbus A380. And that will, having that extra long, extra wide runway on the North Airfield will help us to balance the air traffic needs from the North Airfield compared to the South Airfield. Initially, 9 Center, 27 Center will be used for departing flights before maturing into service as one of the airport's primary arrival runways in 2021. That's important for all of you. Just know that for the next 3 months, November, December, January, 9 Center and 9 Right will be in service at the same time. As Ryan mentioned, as the IFQ ends at the end of January, 9 Center, of course, will remain open, but 9 Right will be closed for the remainder of 2021. That's the last of the interim conditions under the OMP. And then, of course, when we finish 9 Right, currently scheduled at the end of 2021, then the entire airfield will be back in service, all runways at the same time. So if you do get constituent requests about what's going on with air traffic patterns, whether arriving or departing, it's very important to understand, are we talking about the immediate future, you know, sort of 2021 or post 2021? If you need any help with that, please let Jeanette or me or Ryan know, and we'll be happy to give you some talking points. The ONCC, with support from the CDA, will determine how that runway will be used in the future years during the overnight hours when we do work toward finalizing that future Fly Quiet program. I do want to mention that construction of 9 Center itself accounted for 2,700 jobs, while the broader OMP thus far has created more than 30,000 construction jobs and professional service jobs over the course of 15 years of airfield work. As you know, we announced the OMP in 2001. We got environmental approval for 2005. So this has been a long time coming, and many people, including the residents and all of your communities surrounding O'Hare, have contributed greatly to the airport's success. The other thing, the final piece, on the screen where Ryan is showing, you've got the 9 center runway highlighted in blue. Below that, we will be extending 9 right. That's the last major airfield piece with the OMP. That will close in February, and the goal is to have that completed by the end of the year. For now, sound installation continues. We do have homes to complete under the OMP. We're doing the best we can to get in people's homes in a COVID environment. We have talked about numbers increasing, so we will take a look at that. But just know that we are still active in the sound installation program, and it'll certainly pick up the pace quite a bit once we get farther into post-COVID in terms of vaccine. So thank you very much for everyone's support. We know that this is a big milestone that we've been talking about many years, and we're very proud of it. And we're proud to participate in these meetings with all of you and work towards balancing that economic vitality in the community of life. So thanks to all of you. And with that, Mayor, are there any questions?
Any questions from anyone? I'm not seeing anybody raising their little chat hand. So no, thank you. And I really want to thank the FAA for the video they put together. I know I've referred members of the press to that video, and it's helped them to visualize the impacts on our communities from the new runway opening.
I would agree,
so good
Mayor.
job, everyone.
That video is about 7 minutes in length, and it's very good in condensing some technical information down into very user-friendly terms. The visuals are very good. So please do encourage everyone to take a look at that air traffic video on the FAA website. And then Jeanette and I have both put links to the ONCC and the CDA website as well. We want to make that video as accessible as possible to all of your constituents.
Great, thank you. And that concludes the City of Chicago report. I'll move on to my report. And I just have one item today, which is to thank Mayor Sherwin for once again chairing the ad hoc nominating committee, who will be selecting the 2021 slate of officers for the full commission to vote on. As you know, I will not be seeking another term as mayor, and so we need to do a little succession planning here in our choices. Mayor Sherwin will welcome the assistance of any of you who choose to volunteer to participate on the nominating committee, and we look forward to your efforts and to some of you volunteering to serve in leadership roles. As I indicated earlier, there are changes to the bylaws, and you'll see changes to the IGA that make it possible for someone other than only mayors to serve in a leadership role. And we think we've made great strides there in terms of our ability to have great representation and active representation. So thank you all for your time and service on both this committee and for the commission as a whole. We'll move on to the standing and ad hoc committee reports. We only have 2 this morning. We'll hear Mr. Summers report on technical committee, and then Karen Robles will report for us on the flag committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're breaking up a little on my end. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. The technical committee met on Tuesday, October 13th via Zoom. I want to thank my good friend Dennis Ryan for presiding over the meeting. I was monitoring in another meeting, so I couldn't participate, but I was there. The CDA representative gave an update on the permanent noise monitor installations and activations. The goal of CDA is to have all permanent noise monitors deployed and activated by the end of the year. Mr. Anderson of Landermer Brown presented an overview of the Fly Quiet Awards program with the potential of recognition program for airlines and the review of criteria of past ONCC Fly Quiet Awards. ONCC actually had a Fly Quiet Awards starting in 2001, and they gave out their last award in 2007, 13 years ago. So we're looking to maybe build upon that and figure out why it didn't work out so well and correct those mistakes. CDA presented on the current North Airfield changes and reviewed its FAQ report for the commission of runway 9C 27C, as was previously mentioned. It began operations yesterday. The information is available on CDA and ONCC website. And finally, as was discussed earlier from the United representative, we discussed the impacts of COVID-19 on O'Hare as well as Midway. He said that Mr. Anderson said that it would be too early to say when the system will get back to 2019 operations, but it obviously will be several years. The next tech committee will be November 17th via Zoom. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions for Evan? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to Karen.
Thank you. The Fly Quiet Committee met on Tuesday, October 27th via Zoom. Mr. Anderson of Landerman Brown reviewed the interim Fly Quiet reports for weeks 29 through 33. And IFQ reports are posted weekly at the end of the day on Friday. IFQ will continue until January 24th, 2021. We then moved on to the Fly Quiet 21 process, where Mr. Anderson told the committee that the alternatives were still in the development stage. The committee was ready to move on to the next step of the process, which is to revise and review the alternatives. Since the last Fly Quiet committee meeting, there's been feedback from members who submitted modifications to the existing alternatives presented at past meetings, which have been called alternatives A, B, C, D, and E. We also received new submitted alternatives, which have been labeled F, G, and H. One submission was rejected because it did not meet the criteria previously established by the Fly Quiet committee. The committee voted at the meeting to eliminate alternatives D, E, F, and G from further consideration and future discussion. The motion carried by 6 yes votes, 4 no votes, and 1 was absent. However, a subsequent discussion at the executive committee on Monday resulted in a decision to go back and further discuss these alternatives at our next meeting before we vote to eliminate all or any of them. Our next Fly Quiet meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 28th at 9:30 via Zoom teleconferencing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Karen. As you can see, we are trying to be fully cognizant of all of the alternatives being proposed to make sure they all get a full and fair hearing. So those alternatives that were eliminated are ripe for discussion. And I'm getting a note that my speaker is not working. I'm not sure why. Hopefully somebody is able to hear me. Okay, let's move on to Jeanette. Jeanette, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry about that. I'd like to report the expenses for the month of October 2020 in the amount of $17,718.17. Are there any questions? Mayor, if you would ask for a motion in a second.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second Hanover Park.
Okay, it's Evan and Hanover Park. Okay, Jeanette, call the roll, please.
Yes. Village of Addison,
Yes.
Arlington Heights, Bartlett, Bentonville,
Yes.
Bloomingdale,
Yes.
City of Chicago,
Yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward,
Yes.
38,
Yes.
39,
Yes.
41,
Yes.
Cook County, Des Plaines,
Yes.
DuPage County,
Yes.
Elmhurst,
Yes.
Elmwood Park,
Yes.
Franklin Park,
Yes.
Glenview,
Yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Itasca,
Yes.
Lincolnwood,
Yes.
Melrose Park, Mount Prospect,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Northlake, Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Forest,
Aye.
River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Rosemont,
Yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes.
South Barrington,
Yes.
St. Charles, Wayne, Wooddale,
Yes.
School District 7,
Yes.
48,
Yes.
86, 87,
Yes.
88, 89, 205,
Yes.
214,
Yes.
and 234.
Yes.
Thank you.
86 yes.
Thank you.
Jeanette, I'm still getting a message that my speaker's not working. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll test it later. Any comments from ONCC members? And do we have any comments from the audience? Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting? And when we vote on this, please indicate that you could participate fully in the meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll
Sheila
move
Park.
so, Mayor.
Second.
Thank you, Dennis and Evan. Okay, Jeanette, please call the adjournment vote.
Village of Addison,
Yes and yes.
Arlington Heights, Bartlett, Bensonville,
Yes and yes.
Bloomingdale,
Yes and yes.
City of Chicago,
Yes and yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward,
Yes and yes.
38th Ward,
Yes and yes.
39,
Yes and yes.
41st, Cook County, Des Plaines,
Yes and yes.
DuPage County,
Yes and yes.
Elmhurst,
Yes and yes.
Elmwood Park,
Yes and yes.
Franklin Park,
Yes, yes.
Glenview,
Yes and yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes and yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes, yes.
Itasca,
Yes, yes.
Lincolnwood,
Yes and yes.
Melrose Park, Mount Prospect,
Yes and yes.
Norwich,
Yes and yes.
North Lake, Palatine,
Yes and yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes and yes.
River Forest,
Yes, yes.
River Grove,
Yes and yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yeah, yes and yes.
Rosemont,
Yes and yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes and yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes and yes.
South Barrington,
Yes and yes.
St. Charles, Wayne, Wooddale,
Yes and yes.
School District 7,
Yes, yes.
48,
Yes, yes.
86,
Yes, yes.
87,
Yes and yes.
88, 89,
Yes and yes.
205,
Yes and yes.
214,
Yes, yes.
and 234.
Yes and yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're adjourned. Enjoy the day and this beautiful weekend coming up, and we'll see you at one of our upcoming meetings. Thank you.
Bye.
Hello, this is Arlene.